Loser Kari Lake, the temporarily embarrassed governor of Arizona, has been reminded by a judge, the judge in the recent defamation lawsuit against her, that in taking a default judgment, she has accepted all the facts of the case against her, meaning that she can't go out there and say that I was right about everything with the election fraud. Again, the reminder comes after Lake and her allies did just that. Spent the last couple of days criticizing anybody who said that she had given up and defending herself, which again is exactly what happened. She declined to defend herself. But she told ABC News on Wednesday that everything I've said about the elections is true and I stand by it. You stand by it? Unless you're actually in court and have to prove it. Have to produce the receipts. Then you don't want to stand by it at all. Okay, yeah, we see that. But now, Lake had automatically defaulted after missing a March 25th deadline to respond to Richard's defamation claims. She then filed a separate motion on March 26th, asking for a default judgment for Richard to prove to a jury that he was owed damages. So that's going to backfire on her. I'll get to that later. But first, Maricopa County Superior Court Judge J. Adleman wrote that it is worth noting that pursuant to well-established Arizona law, a defaulted party loses all rights to litigate the merits of the cause of action. In this case, the defamatory statements that she had made, accusing Richard of rigging the vote against her, causing her to lose. Again, she blames her loss on Richard screwing with the vote tabulators, rigging them against her, which isn't true at all. Not true at all. It's been actually disproven. So by her taking the default judgment, she's not able to say that because that's defamatory. It's just not true. Now, in a video, though, posted to social media, Lake had tried to convince her followers that she was simply refusing to participate in the litigation, calling it a witch hunt, of course. But in reality, she'll be compelled to continue participating and, by defaulting, is essentially admitting to the court that Richard's claims that she had defamed him were true. Now, funny how she took this default right before the case went to discovery. Now, that's important because, according to Richard's attorney, Jared Davison, it's surprising she decided not to defend herself. It's not so surprising insofar that her claims are based on well-settled law. The fact remains is that Miss Lake had the opportunity to present evidence to show her receipts and to back up her false accusations, and she refused to do so. Gee, I wonder why that is. Could you come up with any reason as to why Kari Lake would, decline to put up the receipts of the evidence that she claims that she has of the election being rigged? Oh, right, it's because she doesn't have any. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's unicorns and fairy dust. That's it. Or maybe some other kind of dust, the same that Mike Pillow happens to snort. Allegedly, I say. Allegedly. Okay.
Just forget about the evidence.
I'm not saying anything. Okay. Now, here's the thing, though, about this case, and it's really interesting. Now, Stephen Richard, he's a public official, right? The bar is pretty high to prove defamation, unlike if you're not a public figure. The bar's a little bit lower. Now, the thing that you have to prove when you bring a defamation suit is that the other person had acted with actual malice. Okay? Now, actual malice means that you have a reckless disregard for the truth and that you know that this is a lie, that what you're saying is not true, and it's provably not true, and you continue to say it. That is actual malice. You're doing it to hurt someone, right? Specifically for that reason. Okay? Now, the accusations that Lake made against Richard are the same ones that she made in her court challenge to the results of the 2022 election as she lost against Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs. Now, that was by about 17,000 votes. Now, judges at every level of the Arizona judicial system had dismissed those claims already because, once again, there was no evidence. So she had already known that all of those claims are untrue, but she turned them against Richer anyway. So, including the false allegations that he had injected like something like 30,000 or 300,000 ballots, some insane number of fake ballots into the system, and then he sabotaged her by printing a page wrong or an image, a graphic that's like an inch smaller than it should be or something. Again, these are all disproven allegations that he had rigged this election against Kari Lake. But unfortunately, the mantra for Republicans now comes from Mike Billow. You already heard it.
Just forget about the evidence.
That's all they say now, along with
Venezuela
and other insane things. And so, what are you going to do? Now, here's what's funny about this, though. So she takes the default judgment, claims she has the evidence, but doesn't want to legitimize the lawsuit by presenting the evidence she claims to have. Now, that's convenient because she can continue to grift her idiot followers. I mean, if she actually was, going to be there to present evidence, and she would have done it already. It's the same issue again that Mike Lindell had. Okay, you say you have all of this explosive evidence, present it. Now, Mike did the ridiculous thing in trying to pass off what was not evidence as evidence, and now he owes $5 million to a guy who proved Mike wrong. And so Kari Lake doesn't want to be stuck in that. She wants to continue to grift her followers. And so what she wants to do is to take this default judgment and then raise money from her fans in calling it, witch hunt, the lawfare, weaponized justice system against me, because she doesn't have the evidence. And so she's just going to gather as much money as she can from her followers, pay off this judgment, and then continue to spread her lies and fundraise off that lies. And hopefully, in her case, she hopes that those lies will propel her into a Senate position. That's the goal of Kari Lake. All right. Very, very convenient, again, for her to take this default judgment. That said, backfire. Total backfire. Adleman's filing on Wednesday did make it clear that if she had taken a default judgment to avoid discovery, Richer can then compel her to produce documents for discovery. In the filing, Adleman instructed both sides to meet and discuss whether Richer would like to engage in discovery of evidence in order to determine the damages, among other things. So Richer, if he chooses to, could very well expose the fact that Kari Lake has absolutely nothing to prove her claims, that the election was rigged and stolen from her. And what would that do? It would publicly expose her as a liar, a fraud, and a loser.